Hello, I'm Mrs. D and welcome to my channel. Today on Mrs. D's Baking TV, I know you already saw the title, but I just have to tell you, I am making a king cake. I know if you've watched my channel before, you know I've made a king cake before. But recently, you know I'm on this milling grains journey, so I decided to take my original king cake recipe and see if I can adapt it to freshly milled flour. So I've got all my ingredients here. I've milled my flour. Come on with me on this journey and do not fast forward to see what it's going to look like in the end. Follow along because I want you to learn how to make this king cake also. Now, if you've never watched my channel before, I like to do things step by step. I like to do things in a teaching mode. So I know sometimes people say, oh, that video is too long. I'll do a short on it. How about that? But for those of you who want to learn how to make a Louisiana king cake, continue to watch. Okay, so I've already heated my butter and my milk, and the recipe says that you want this to be no more than 120 degrees, well, between 120 and 130 degrees, because you don't want to kill your yeast. So let's go ahead and add the thermometer. This is just a basic candy thermometer that you can use for everything. It's candies, jellies, deep fry, whatever. Got it off of Amazon so many years ago. I need to start putting a link to the things that I use because several people have asked me, Mrs. D, where'd you get this from? Where'd you get that from? I need to do an Amazon link. I'm going to do that soon. So let's go ahead and put the thermometer in so that we can make sure that this is at the right temperature before we start mixing our ingredients together. And we want our water also warm. So let's go ahead and warm that in the microwave. All right, this is at 120 degrees and we're going to add our salt to this mixture. This was the half a cup of flour that we reserved. And this is what I've got left. Because we don't want our dough to be too wet, but we want it to pull away from the side of the bowl, and see it's already starting to do that. So I think that was a good choice to make. Yep. Because I'm using freshly milled flour, I am going to allow this dough to sit here in this bowl for about, I would say, 5 minutes, just to make sure that the flour has absorbed all of the liquid. When you're working with freshly milled flour, remember it's very, what I call, thirsty. So you want to make sure that all of the liquid has had a chance to absorb into the flour. So we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes, and then we'll go to the next step in our recipe. Now we're going to take all of our dough out of the mixer, and we're going to knead it just a little bit, and we're going to place it in a well-oiled bowl. And I've oiled my bowl with salted butter because that's the type of butter that this recipe called for. And I'll make sure I've gotten all that out of there because I want a nice king cake. Well, actually, this recipe is doubled. The original recipe makes two. Recipe is not double. The original recipe makes two king cakes. This is a relatively sticky dough, but I did not want to add any additional flour because I didn't want my dough to be too dry, because I know that over time this dough is going to continue to absorb the liquid. Now, if you have a Joydeem mixer, I'll tell you this. There is a little cap that comes with this mixer. Do not lose this. I've already done that. I think it went down my garbage disposal, and so now I only have one because it comes with two. But thank goodness it comes with two. So I put a little flour. I floured my surface, and I'm going to put just a little bit more oil on my hands because this is a sticky dough and I don't want it sticking to my fingers. All righty. And we're just going to knead the dough just a little bit. Oh yeah, this is looking good. Okay, put down just a little bit more flour. But this dough really, it feels good. Okay, just a couple of times just to bring it all together. All right, we're going to go ahead and place this in our oiled bowl. And I've got my oven on a proofing setting. If you don't have a proofing setting on your oven, turn the oven light on because it's cold in my house today and it's very cold here in Louisiana. I would normally, if it were warm, just place it on the top of the stove in a warm place in the kitchen and let it proof. But because it's cold, I put my oven on the proofing setting, and I'm going to allow this dough to rise for 1 to 2 hours until it has doubled in size. This is what it's looking like. This is the before. Wait till you see the after. Don't forget to cover it with a dish towel. And now place it in the oven. Okay, so while our dough is proofing in the oven, I'll go ahead and make the filling. And this is really simple. You're going to take some brown sugar, white sugar, and cinnamon, melted butter, and flour. Mix that together. Okay, and that's the consistency that you're looking for. Just a simple filling. Okay, so both king cakes have risen in the oven. I increased the time. The original recipe said 30 to 45 minutes. I increased it to an hour because it just didn't look like it was puffy enough to me. Because remember, we are using freshly milled flour. So that's the difference in this recipe. So now I've preheated my oven to 335 degrees Fahrenheit. And we are going to bake these king cakes for 25 to 30 minutes or until the internal temperature is 190 degrees. They are done. Some of the filling seeped out, but that's okay. That's okay. I knew when I was filling these that I overfilled one of them. So that's fine. That's fine. And I will sit these here. I will allow these to cool for about 15 minutes, and then we'll place our icing on top during this bake. I'll tell you what I've learned. I've learned that you may have to extend the baking time of your king cake when baking with freshly milled flour, because I had to extend the time twice just to get that internal temperature of 190. But they're brown, they look delicious. Let's go ahead and icing them, decorate them. And yeah, you know what comes after that. But before that, look at this oven mitt that my son and daughter-in-law got me. Isn't it just beautiful? Look at that. Welcome to my TV show. I love it. Let's get some icing on these king cakes. All right, guys, you know what time it is? Calm down, Mrs. D. I can't calm down because this is a lot of work. This was a lot of work. Guys, it's taste test time. Okay, which one? Which one? I did search the internet for a king cake done with freshly milled flour, but I could not find one. So I just decided that I would use the recipe that I already had. Because on this freshly milled flour journey, I've had a lot of questions. Can I take an original recipe that I've already had and just use freshly milled flour? So this was a big feat to try that on, but I'm glad I did because it just gives me experience. That's what it gives me. So I'll do all the testing and baking and tell you guys what will and what won't work, and yeah, we'll learn together. There we go. Looks good to me. How does it taste? I see the cream cheese filling more than I do the cinnamon. Let's cut another slice. I want to see what it looks like a little further. Let's see. This is just for me and my husband. Well, I'm going to share it, but if it tastes good, I'll share it. If it doesn't taste good, well, we're going to call this a day. Okay. I should have gotten a bread knife. That's what I should have gotten. Okay, let's see if we can see it there. I don't see the cinnamon. I bet you I see the cinnamon in this one because the cinnamon was flowing out of that one. But let's go ahead and do the taste test. Miss D, they're waiting. Oh, there's the cream cheese layer. Oh, and it is still a little warm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's the cinnamon layer. Mmm. 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 That's good. But it's good. I can tell that it's freshly milled flour. It does not taste like the original king cake because the freshly milled flour has a different flavor, a hint of an earthy flavor. I used hard white wheat. You always use hard white wheat when you're baking with yeast. But the cinnamon and the cream cheese filling just takes over all of that. So it's really good. The only thing that I would do different, I probably would allow my dough to rise a little longer because it was cold in my house today. Although I put it in the oven on the proofing setting, then I thought that was too hot. So I turned the proofing setting off and used the light. I probably would have allowed this to proof a little longer. Guys, thank you for joining me today on Mrs. D's Baking TV, where I attempted to bake a king cake. Now, I don't know if I would suggest that you use this recipe. What I would do differently is I would probably use maybe a basic cinnamon roll recipe and customize it a little bit in the shape of a king cake. But this particular recipe, I don't know if I would use this one again. The original bread flour, converting it into freshly milled flour. I don't know if I would do it again, but it's good. I will share it because I want to get the opinion of others. But thank you so much for joining me today and watching this video from beginning to end. Guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all those things so that I can continue to grow my little Million Grains Journey family. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Be blessed. Bake with your family. Bye.